It's 10 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 10 p.m. in London, 5 p.m. in New York, and 5 a.m. in Beijing. This is TVC News at 10. Our top stories tonight. Academic Staff Union of Universities begins two-week warning strike by midnight over unmet demands as federal government threatens to implement no work, no pay policy. President Bola Tinubu arrives in Rome for Akaba process meeting on counter-terrorism. And outside Nigeria, world leaders head to Egypt for the Gaza Peace Summit, scheduled for tomorrow as Palestinians continue to return home.
I wanted a scholarship in school, and it was after I got the scholarship I realized that I was pregnant. So the day I was being announced as the senior girl of my school, I was already in my husband's house.
In our Sunday special, we'll bring you the story of Adetutu, who, like many young girls, are faced with the harsh reality of teenage pregnancy. Hello and welcome. I am Ikechukwu Obienu. Now, starting midnight, the Academic Staff Union of Universities has directed all its branches nationwide to begin a two-week warning strike following the expiration of its 14-day ultimatum to the federal government. TVC News correspondent Joke Adisa tells us more about it.
On the 28th of September, university teachers rose from a meeting to hand out a two-week timeline for the government at the center to address their demands, which they say have dragged on for too long. The union says 8 issues are in dispute, and they include conclusion of the renegotiated 2009 FGN ASU agreement, release of withheld 3.5-month salaries, sustainable funding of public universities, revitalization of universities, and a stop to alleged victimization of lecturers across some state universities. The union expresses concerns that government's engagements with it since the strike notice was issued have not produced any meaningful outcome. It accuses the government of raising and dashing the hopes of its members.
Government agents have again been pleading for more time since the expiry of the 3-week promised, with nothing concrete for ASU leadership to take to its members.
And with the 2-week window now elapsed, ASU insists a warning strike is inevitable.
All branches of ASU are hereby directed to withdraw their services with effect from midnight, Monday, 13th October 2025. The warning strike shall be total, comprehensive, as we had agreed in NEC.
While it indicates readiness to suspend the warning strike should the government return to the negotiation table, the union warns that a full-blown and indefinite strike will follow if nothing concrete happens.
Our members' patience has been tasked beyond reasonable limits. So we are pushing to it. If government is ready to resolve the matter, as a matter of this action will be over.
While we are ready, the drivers are ready, the train is serviced and ready to take off, we hope that they will not allow us embark on this next leg, which would be total and comprehensive. And that we cannot say when it will end.
ASU appeals to all well-meaning Nigerians and professional bodies to prevail on the government and its officials to listen to the voice of reasoning and return to the negotiation table. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the federal government has appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities to reconsider its decision to embark on an industrial action. In a joint statement, Minister of Education Tunji Alausa and the Minister of State for Education, Professor Shuaiba Ahmed, stressed that the government remains open to dialogue and is determined to ensure lasting solution. The ministers expressed concern over ASU's decision to initiate strike action despite concrete steps by the government to address the union's concerns. They also reminded the union that the principle of no work, no pay remains an extant provision of Nigerian labor law, and the federal government will invoke it should ASUU proceed with the strike. Government says that it has shown sincerity and goodwill throughout its discussions with ASUU, with key demands already addressed, including a significant increase in teaching allowances and improved working conditions for academic staff. All right, of course, we are expecting National President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Professor Christopher Pewuna, who is a professor of medicine, to join us to talk more about this. While we wait for him, let's move to other stories now. Of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has arrived at Rome, that's the capital of Italy, to participate in the Akaba process heads of state and governments level meeting with special focus on security crisis in West Africa. Special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, says the meeting, which will begin on Tuesday, will bring together heads of states and governments, senior intelligence and military officials from African countries to discuss evolving security challenges in West Africa. The Akaba process meeting is a counter-terrorism initiative launched by King Abdullah II of Jordan in 2015. It is co-chaired by the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the Italian government. President Tinubu will also hold bilateral talks with other leaders to explore ways of addressing the rising security challenges across the sub-region. And now the All Progressives Congress in Delta State has unanimously adopted President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Governor Sheriff Oborowori as its sole candidates for the 2027 presidential and governorship elections. Our correspondent Ikenna reports that the party stakeholders in the state commended both leaders for what they described as impressive developmental strides recorded in the last 2 years.
It was a high-power stakeholders meeting of the All Progressives Congress in Delta State, convened at the instance of Governor Sheriff Oborowori. The gathering brought together the state chairman of the party, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, the deputy governor, the Minister of Aviation, all three senators from the state, members of the House of Representatives, and other top party leaders in a show of unity. They converge on the banquet hall of Government House, Asaba, to deliberate on party cohesion and chart a common path ahead of 2027 general elections.
The next election is not about winning elections, because elections will win. The governor will win, the president will win. The next election is going to be about how many votes that you deliver. We must all forget about ourselves and realize that we have to work as a family. Delta Central is ready to deliver the governor in 2027 and to deliver our president. But let me assure you before I go to Delta North that there is no opposition to the governor of Delta State.
We are very, very rest assured that we can give Mr. President over 90% of the votes in Delta State come 2027. And that will put us in a good footing as a strong APC state.
Governor Oborowori commends party leaders for their solidarity and urges greater unity to ensure overwhelming support for the president in 2027, which should translate to more votes.
In 2027, the vote will be the report card. So don't think about yourself. Think about the party. This party, we must be continue to be united. I have made effort to make sure I try to bring myself down with those people and the rest. But I will not negotiate. I will not negotiate with anybody about this party.
Highlighting the key achievements of President Tinubu, the Minister of Aviation moves the motion for the adoption of both President Tinubu and the governor as sole candidates for the 2027 election.
The President has approved $1 billion to revive Warri Port, Calabar Port, and Pisa Port. Yes.
It was a resounding yes when the motion was put to vote by party chairman, marking a formal endorsement of President Tinubu and Governor Oborowori as the APC's sole candidates in Delta State for the 2027 polls. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
This is TVC News at 10. We'll take a short break at the moment and return with more. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Here is a reminder of our top stories tonight. Academic Staff Union of Universities begins 2-week warning strike by midnight over unmet demands as federal government threatens to implement no work, no pay policy. President Bola Tinubu arrives Rome for Akaba process meeting on counter-terrorism. And outside Nigeria, world leaders head to Egypt for the Gaza Peace Summit scheduled for tomorrow as Palestinians continue to return home.
I won a scholarship in school, and it was after I got the scholarship I realized that I was pregnant. So the day I was being announced as the senior girl of my school, I was already in my husband's house.
In our Sunday special, we'll bring you the story of Adetutu, who, like many young girls, are faced with the harsh reality of teenage pregnancy. Now we'll turn attention to the health sector. Key players in the health industry have converged on Abuja to brainstorm ways to enhance local manufacturing and the supply chain for malaria commodities across Nigeria. National Coordinator of the Presidential Initiative on Unlocking Healthcare Value Chain, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, outlined the initiative's mandate to increase locally manufactured healthcare products. Dr. Mukhtar mentioned that PVAC has set a target to produce 70% of essential healthcare products domestically by the year 2030, with Nigeria currently importing nearly 99% of test kits and 100% of vaccines. Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, challenged local manufacturers to produce vaccines and drugs for malaria.
We have been doing the capacity assessment to see where the opportunities are and what the gaps are in local production of malaria products. So at the end of this workshop, what we intend to do is to really have a map, a very clear roadmap to develop our own strategy for local production for malaria products, active pharmaceutical ingredients, vaccines, test kits, and so on and so forth.
It is all about anti-malarians. It is all about manufacturing. We approved R21 malaria vaccine in 2022. Ghana did it first, approval from Serum Institute of India. We were supposed to be the first, but it happens we were the second. My challenge is, where is the vaccine manufacturing now?
We have a huge market. Nigeria bears 25% of the body of malaria. So why can't we produce drugs around that? Malaria commodities around that. That alone is a huge market. Nigeria will have about 30 million children every year. That alone is a huge market for vaccines. So why can't we produce it?
Because Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, of course, talking about the importance of achieving those goals. And away from that now, founder and board chairman of Citadel School of Government, Tunde Bakare, has cleared the air on some statements attributed to him. Pastor Bakare insists that his comments on ADC was not a mockery of the plane crash victims. Senior correspondent Ivy Kano was there and tells us more.
Not one to waste time addressing everything thrown at him, the clergyman said this time he's clearing the air because of those he respects who appear to be bothered by the misconceptions, such as the ADC statement.
To those commentators who have criticized as insensitive what was nothing more than a metaphor, I ask whether at some point in their careers they have used the Titanic as a metaphor to one of pending danger. Understand that it's same that some have amplified that imagery to score political points and further denounce the ADC. For instance, but let me state categorically and without equivocation that my statement on Saturday, October 4, did not in any way bring into the spotlight the victims of the October 29, 2006 ADC airline crash. I pray that all those with lingering pain from that event will find complete healing and comfort.
Also on whether or not Citadel School of Government is a partisan organization.
I want to state categorically that Citadel School of Government has no affiliation whatsoever with any political party and is completely non-partisan.
He also has a word for those he described as being in the cockpit of our nation's governance.
Let this undue controversy surrounding the ADC crash metaphor serve as a warning that every person saddled with the solemn responsibility of steering the ship of state at any level, whether local, state, or national, or in any arm of government, whether the executive, legislative, or judicial, learn from history and recognize the transience of power. I seriously hope that those in the cockpit of our nation's governance and those trying to change course mid-air will see the handwriting on the wall, even when written in parables, and will commit themselves to using power as a platform for service to the people rather than for self.
Being a Sunday, the preacher went back to attend to service. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
Nigeria is in its recovery season. That's according to the General Overseer of Four Square Gospel Church in Nigeria, Sam Aboyeji. The preacher stated this at a church service held at the church campground at Ajabo. That will be Ayobo, I think. Senior correspondent Ivy Kano tells us more about it.
From the adult choir, there was palpable joy as they rendered soul-lifting songs. The planning committee says it is understandable as the service marks the end of a week-long activities of the 2025 70th Annual Convention with the theme, Completion and Perfection. Taking his teaching from Luke 15, verse 16, the General Overseer said, Jubilee signifies restoration on all sides.
In Luke chapter 15, the three things that were lost were all found. They were all restored. The lost coin was restored. The lost sheep was found. The lost son was restored.
There were goodwill messages for the church from the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, and the government of Ekiti State.
And it is our prayer that you will celebrate many more in the land of the living. It is our prayer that the Lord will increase you in all faces. It's a prayer from Villa that it shall be well with the Four Square Church.
We thank God for the 70 years of grace and still counting of the church and the movement in this nation. Congratulations to Daddy Gio, his wife, and other members of the leadership team.
But how does this Platinum Jubilee relate to the situation in the country?
If the British government decided to release Nigeria and thereafter declared a Jubilee and it stood fast, how much more the one who made heaven and earth?
So first and foremost, we preach the good news of the gospel, of what God has done for us in Christ and how we can grow in relationship to God. But also we care about things like education and healthcare, and so there's a very holistic approach.
Opportunity to serve, for the strength and for the people that he raised to help us over the past 14 months. They've helped us. We planned, we were deliberate, we were intentional, and we have executed our plans and we are very grateful to the Almighty for the results which we have seen over the past 6 days.
The assurance from the preacher gave his members and invited guests hope that Nigeria is on its recovery path. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
And our tall Plateau State National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Ntawe Yewada, has emphasized the need to empower women and less privileged persons in the society. The APC chairman unveiled a 50 million naira empowerment package aimed at boosting small businesses in the state. Senior reporter Funum Joshua tells us more.
At the Millennial International Event Center in Jos, the atmosphere was filled with excitement as hundreds of market women gathered to hear directly from the APC National Chairman, Nentawe Yildwader. During the event, Mr. Yildwader announced a 50 million empowerment initiative, 20 million of which will be distributed as direct cash grants to women traders, while 30 million will be channeled into a cooperative fund designed to promote sustainable business growth and financial independence among women entrepreneurs. He emphasized that empowering women is not just an act of charity, but a strategic investment in community stability and national progress.
The renewable agenda targets people who are hopeless, and their hope is being restored. You could see here, people who are here, they've lost their hope medically. Today their hope has been restored. Those women, they lost their hope in their businesses because their business were destroyed. Today we restore those hope. That's the message of the Renew Hope agenda. That's how that's Renew Hope agenda in practice, and that's what we're doing.
I am so grateful for today. What he did, there is nothing we can give him, but only God will reward him. In
businesswoman, I saw in terminals, I've never seen a government that did this thing that happened today. This is my first time of partaking. You understand? And we women, we are so grateful.
The initiative reflects the renewed hope commitment to inclusive economic policies that give local traders a fair chance to thrive. Funum Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
This is TVC News at 10. We'll take another break and return with more stories. Do stay with us. All right, let's turn our attention to environmental issues now. The Lagos State Ministry of Environment has demolished 17 houses in Oral Estate, Lekki, for obstructing drainage channels in the area. Commissioner for Environment, Tokumba Wahab, led a team to inspect the ongoing demolition exercise. Esther Mokwariola was part of the team and tells us more.
It's a busy day for officials of the Ministry of the Environment along the Lekki corridor. Here, several structures, including car shops, have encroached into wetlands, an infraction the government says worsens flooding across the metropolis. Some of the car shops, officials explained, were given temporary approvals that have now been violated. They say the structures will be cleared to make way for a new transport project expected to begin in December.
We've given them 2 weeks notices. Now, afterwards,
we'll sit down with transport to see how we can have a balance, preserve the ecosystem, sink in the transport master plan for those persons that have not really been affected by what we intend to do. They can go back to their own places. We tell them how far they can go.
We're doing this just to at least sensitize and do a lot of advocacy around it, so people won't come out and say Lagos State is not considerate.
The team then moved to Oral Estate in Lekki, where the demolition exercise is already ongoing. 17 houses have been pulled down for blocking drainage channels, a move the government insists is needed to restore proper water flow and prevent flooding.
It's not every time we remove. There are times we sit down, okay, these are the other options we have. The other options may include, okay, you may have to bring a design that is practicable to discharge your storm water. And the ministry will look at it, and then you bear the cost.
Final stop was Parkview Estate in Ikoyi, where flood control works are ongoing. Officials say they are satisfied with the progress so far and assure residents that the perennial flooding in the area will soon be addressed.
Flooding can't be stopped in a coastal state, especially one that is aborted by the Atlantic, the lagoons and rivers, and that's the nature of Lagos. But what you can do is mitigate the impact by providing resilient infrastructure, and this governor has done that tremendously. And also keep maintaining the infrastructures you had provided.
Officials insist that compliance with building regulations remains key to achieving a cleaner, safer and flood-free Lagos. Esther Mopariola, TVC News.
Well, usually at Yoruba traditional weddings, entertainment goes beyond music and dance. It is a colorful display of humor, storytelling, as well as deep cultural heritage. At the heart of it all are the Alaga Iduro and Alaga Ijoko, cultural custodians who breathe life into Yoruba engagement ceremony. TVC News correspondent Abimbola Agbebi tells us more about it.
They bring life, laughter and lessons to Yoruba weddings through songs, chants and witty expressions. They are the Alaga Iduro, the standing master of ceremony, and the Alaga Ijoko, the sitting master of ceremony. At every traditional engagement, the Alaga ensures order, adds humor and educates guests on Yoruba marriage customs and etiquette. Over the years, the Alaga profession has grown remarkably, attracting more practitioners and gaining wider recognition in Nigeria's cultural and creative space.
It gives me great honor and joy to welcome you all to this historic.
This gathering brought together cultural custodians, media personalities, and stakeholders from the creative industry to celebrate the first investiture of executives and induction of new members, both within and outside Nigeria. The grand patron and matron of the industry, Mr. and Mrs. Fakorede, emphasized the importance of bringing structure, order, and uniformity to the profession.
Our cultural integrity. We are committed to upholding the traditions and values of each state and family, ensuring that every ceremony reflects its unique heritage. Respect. We promote a culture of respect among all members of the industry, encouraging younger coordinators to honor the wisdom of their elders.
It was also an opportunity to highlight the pivotal role women have played in the growth and sustainability of the Alaga profession.
I look forward to seeing uniformity across generations, from the younger ones to the older generation, to the younger part of all. So I look forward to having uniformity, as this is the purpose of the gathering today. To sustain our culture, there must be a shared value. Everybody must share in the same value in sustaining our culture and preserving our culture. Someone can't wake up tomorrow and say, no, I don't want to wear a rambo, but all I want to wear is top and and drinks for my own event. No, you can't preserve the culture that way.
Organizers say the event is designed to celebrate and strengthen the enduring role of culture in shaping collective identity and national values.
As the industry keeps growing in leaps and bounds, we've had some practices that are not, it's not well coordinated with what the culture of the Yorubas are, and it's getting worse. We know Yorubas to be wearing iro and buba and gele and ekpele during traditional weddings, but these days you see a whole lot of so many shenanigans. You see people wearing gown, buba and shokoto. A woman to coordinate events, and you see some of them singing songs that are not worthy. You wouldn't even know if they are singing for the couple that are getting married, or if it's a rally, or if it's a show, you know.
The highlight of the event was the official decoration of the grand patron and matron of the Alaga industry, followed by the induction of new executives and members, a symbolic moment of unity, leadership, and continuity for the cultural community. Abimbola Agbibi, TVC News, Lagos.
Indeed, shared value of is, of course, preponderant to, of course, preserving the culture of Alaga Iduro and Alaga Ijoko. Well, let's move away from that now. The city of Lagos played host to a heartwarming celebration as loved ones and dignitaries gathered to honor Dr. Oluwole Kukoyi at 70, applauding a life defined by purpose, integrity, as well as service to humanity.
The 70th birthday celebration of Dr. Oluwole Kukoyi themed 70 years of grace. Notable dignitaries, including the Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Noimot Salakoyedele, the Olota of Ota, and several other distinguished guests, graced the occasion and described him as a beacon of service and humility. There was a highlight on Dr. Oluwole Kukoyi's biography and the book presentation. Dr. Oluwole Kukoyi is a global Rotarian, medical expert, and founder of ACE Medicare Clinics, a man with various professional achievements and a lifelong commitment to service and humanity. Speaking to TVC News, family members, friends, and associates described the celebrator as an exemplary personality, philanthropist, and a humble man who continues to inspire those around him.
I am very ecstatic and very excited to be celebrating my father's 70th birthday. He is an icon of many things, but for me, he's an icon of fatherhood.
My dad is someone that lives what he preaches. He lives by his standards and he doesn't cut corners, and that is one thing that I love about him. He's very disciplined and he has passed that on to us. So that is one value that I really love about my dad.
He is ready to give out whatever he has, for humanity. He has done so many wonderful things that you feel that could a human being do this?
What actually does me about him is actually his generosity too. He's a man who loves giving. He's in the health profession, but even in that medical profession too, you find out that a whole lot of people, a lot of giveaways. I mean, generosity to the community, to the people and all of that. He has impacted so many lives, and it's no surprise that people have turned out massively today to celebrate him.
Dr. Oluwole Kukoyi urged younger generation to live purposefully, uphold good values, and trust in God's guidance in the pursuit of success and fulfillment.
The message is that keep to your goals, keep to your vision, and always be close to God. With all of this, you have a very good life to live and a future to behold.
The evening ended on a joyful note as guests took to the dance floor, rejoicing and celebrating a life well lived, marked by grace and service to humanity.
Well, congratulations to Dr. Kukoyi. And outside Nigeria, world leaders are heading to Egypt for the Gaza Peace Summit that will be tomorrow. U.S. President Donald Trump says that the war is over in Gaza and the ceasefire will hold as he travels to Israel for the release of hostages. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has also travelled to Egypt. He is set to pledge £20 million humanitarian aid package during his visit, as we understand. In Gaza, bulldozers have commenced clearing of rubble after 2 years of war as tens of thousands of forcibly displaced Palestinians return to devastated towns and cities in northern Gaza. And let's bring you some sports stories now. The Nigeria Super Eagles and officials have arrived in Uyo, Akwa Ibom, ahead of Tuesday's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying clash against Benin Republic. Media officer of the team, Promise Efoge, reports that the players are in good spirit ahead of the game on Tuesday, despite a flight scare that they experienced earlier. The Nigeria Football Federation, in a post on its X handle, said that the team touched down safely at the Victor Wata International Airport in Uyo at about 8:05 a.m. Nigeria will play the Squirrels of Benin Republic. That will be in the Godswill Akpabio Stadium on Tuesday. And welcome to our Sunday specials. Teenage pregnancy remains one of Nigeria's most pressing social challenges, cutting short the dreams and potential of thousands of young girls every year. In this special report, Olaido Yewole examines the growing trend of teenage pregnancy in Nigeria, the causes, the consequences, as well as the stories behind the statistics.
Across Nigeria, teenage pregnancy is silently stealing the future of many young girls. It is a reality many communities across Nigeria are grappling with. Teenage girls getting into early motherhood. According to recent statistics by the federal government, 15% of girls between the ages of 15 and 19 are either pregnant or already mothers. That's not all. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, Nigeria records one of the highest rates of adolescent pregnancies in sub-Saharan Africa. Let's put that in perspective. Imagine a hall filled with 1,000 teenage girls, and almost 100 of them are already mothers before they turn 20. That is 1 in every 10 teenage girls, a figure that shows just how deep the crisis runs. For every 1,000 girls aged between 15 and 19, 93 have already given birth. The figures raise tough questions. Why are so many girls trapped in this cycle so early in life? What are the consequences for them, their families, and the country? I met with a young woman whose story reflects the reality behind these statistics. Adetutu, who is now 24, was just 15 when she got pregnant, having no proper education about sexuality, as poverty pushed her into situations she couldn't control, causing her to be abused several times.
One of the major challenges I faced was the lack of basic things that I needed as a child. There are days when we wake up in the morning and there's nothing to eat for days. And there are sometimes debtors come around, they harass my parents in my presence, and it somehow created this pain, this burden on my mind. So I was beginning to see myself as the savior, and before I knew it, I started taking responsibilities for my siblings, for my parents, and it made me more vulnerable because a number of times I had to go out and fend, I had to hawk, I had to go from morning. Sometimes when I hawk and I come back in the evening, I don't make sales. I feel pressured, like now I'm going back home, there is nothing and I don't have anything to show, and I know that they are waiting for me at home for whatever I've been able to gather since morning. So it was one major issue for me, and I began to find comfort and solace in people around, those I knew that they could help me. This led to exploitation sexually and a number of abuse cases that I cannot really remember. Some I've forgotten and some I still have the memories very clear with me.
It didn't just end there. The very moment she was being celebrated as a senior girl of her school, she was also being sent away, forced into her husband's house with her dreams cut short.
In fact, I won a scholarship in school, and it was after I got the scholarship I realized that I was pregnant. So the day I was being announced as the senior girl of my school, I was already in my husband's house. Now, should we say it was because I was really wayward? No. But what really happened was that majority of us, we are dealing with survivor. We just want to survive. So when you see somebody doing the wrong thing, most time the motive is not because of peer pressure. Because people say, okay, like, for those that understand Yoruba, they'll say she's moving with the wrong friend. No, for some, the motive is just to survive. We just want to survive. We just want the basic things of life, as simple as sanitary pad is, as simple as a meal, just a cup of garri in the morning is. It was something that we lacked. So, tell me, somebody that wakes up in the morning, does not even know what to eat, the parents are trying but they cannot meet up with it. And that kind of person now, getting that offer from someone else, she will just feel like, okay, maybe I should trust.
Imagine being full of promise, just to have your future decided for you in one day, not by choice, but by circumstance. That's the harsh reality many teenage Nigerian girls go through. However, Adetutu did not allow that weigh her down. She's now in her 300 level studying psychology at the University of Ibadan. Experts link teenage pregnancy to multiple factors: poverty, lack of sex education, and even cultural practices.
Family background play a driving force in teenage pregnancy in Nigeria. One, poverty. When the family is unable to provide for themselves, they either send their works to work to provide for the family. And in the process, some of these girls are a prey to the garage boys and others.
Campaigners are now calling for comprehensive sex education, stronger family guidance, and support systems for vulnerable girls.
It is key and paramount that we must emphasize on education. Teach people on sex education. Teach them. If I empower the girl child, that the child will be able to know. And then education should be made available and free for them, because a lot of them are dropouts. They don't have, for example, a child that is being raised by a grandmother who is not even learned, who is illiterate. The grandma does not have any reasons for the child to go to school. And then after primary school, she's withdrawn out of school, she starts selling something or hawking on the street or in the garage. And then one irresponsible man takes that child or that girl and then impregnates her, and then our problem starts. Our journey in life with a lot of problems, with a lot of trauma begins. So it is important that sex education is key into preventing all these problems.
And consistent community level programming. The government cannot do it alone. There's a need for more collaboration with NGOs, community leaders. The community themselves need to also step up, because teenage pregnancy is a menace, not just to them, but the community as a whole. And even the private sector need to come on board also. We all need to work together to ensure that social interventions truly reach the most vulnerable adolescents in Nigeria.
Are there short and long-term effects on these teenagers who find themselves in this situation at the tender stage of their lives?
Of course, when they are pregnant, there's a lot of problems that they can have in pregnancy, while they are in labor, after delivery, and even their babies. To start with, in pregnancy, these people are at risk of abortion. And this is because they are not ready for this pregnancy. So they want to do abortion, and then it comes down with complications of abortion, like septic abortion. In fact, some of them might even get their womb removed if it becomes so septic that you have to save their life. Again, they are at risk of a lot of miscarriages. How do I mean? They tend to lose a lot of pregnancy because these people don't have enough support. They don't have enough nutritional support. And so they tend to what? They don't have reasons to go to antenatal care because they don't have anybody to take them there. They don't have even funds or money. The person who impregnated them is not even responsible. So definitely they are at risk of what's called miscarriages. Again, anemia is one of the greatest problems. That is low blood level. These people have nutritional deficiency. They don't have enough to eat. And now when they are pregnant, the baby is also taken out of them. And then they tend to what? Have reduced blood level. And that can even kill them or even kill the baby inside. What about risk of sexually transmitted infections? Because these pregnancies oftentimes are not planned. And so they are at risk of infection. Maybe somebody impregnate them, somebody has sex with them, and then they tend to have, when you are screening them, even when they come for antenatal, some of them are at risk of having things like syphilis, HIV, hepatitis, and things like that. So those are one of the problems or things that they could experience.
Teenage pregnancy is not just a statistic. It's a stolen future, a silent crisis that demands urgent attention for Adetutu and thousands like her. The question is simple. Will society finally give girls the chance to write their own stories? Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.
All right, our correspondent Olaide Oyewole joins me live now on the news to talk about this issue about teenage pregnancy. Olaide, very good to have you with us this evening. Teenage pregnancy, as we know, is a significant public health concern in Nigeria. And of course, Adetutu's story is reminiscent of that of so many that are not told across the country. Tell us, how did this affect Adetutu's family on learning, her immediate family, on learning about what happened to her?
So, to start with, the story of Adetutu is a reflection of what, like you have said, a reflection of what many young Nigerian girls go through at this point in time due to the lack of early sex education, poverty, and most times cultural practices like early marriage and all of that. So the case of Adetutu, like she said in the interview, that ours was because of poverty, and at a time of her life, the parents depended on her to feed and all of that, which led to her, looking for other options for her to get money. And in that process, she was abused in many cases. And she told me that one of the reasons is because she did not even have the education she had right to her own body. So once they come to her and they tell her that this is what they want, she just gives to them, and because of what she wanted at that point in time. So for the parents, for Adetutu to have gone back to school at this point, like I mentioned, she's in her 300 level studying psychology. For Adetutu to have gone back to school, it means that the parents at this point have learned their lesson. She told me that she was pushed to her husband's house, which meant that the girl that was even trying to cater for the family, when that happened to her, they did not even respect her, at least to keep her in her custody, to keep her in their own custody. She was sent to her husband's house, someone who was as like twice or three times older than her at that point in time. For her to be back on her feet at this point, I think the family would have learned their lessons and sent her back to school to fulfill her dreams.
All right, Olaide, these concerns are not new, at all. Is the Oyo State government in any way, trying to address, are there programs on ground put together to address these challenges, let's say, in Oyo State at the moment?
Yes, on several occasions as a correspondent of TVC News in Oyo State, I have covered so many events, related events of such initiative that has to do with the girl child. A lot of programs are in place for the girl child, especially from the Ministry of Women Affairs and Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Inclusion. So I have covered so many. I cannot really recall all of these programs at this time, but I'm quite sure, and I can tell you that the Oyo State government is trying its possible best to ensure that these girls are being treated well and they are being sensitized. They are working with NGOs, they're working with civil societies to ensure that these girls, most of them are even on the streets. They are brought, they are taken away from the street, and they try to, bring them back to the society. So that is what the Oyo State government is doing, and I can confirm that to you.
All right, Tolaido Yewole, correspondent in Oyo State. Many thanks indeed for, of course, talking to us about this issue. Well, at Day 22 story, it's really encouraging, of course, to see that, yes, she was able to transcend her challenge and begin again. And that's, of course, should be encouraging to anybody who finds herself in this situation. Do not let your challenges stop you. You can rise again and begin. Well, that's TVC News this hour. For more updates on the stories that we're monitoring, you can visit our website, www.tvcnews.tv. You can also follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and on X at TVC News NG. We also have updates for you on WhatsApp and Telegram at TVC News Nigeria. On YouTube, we are live at TVC News Nigeria. Thanks for watching, and from the entire production crew, it's good night.